All right, let's just jump right in. For so long, businesses have looked at neurodiversity and seen a disability or maybe a deficit. But what if that's completely the wrong way to look at it? Today, we're going to explore how some of the most forward thinking companies are finding out that neurodiversity isn't a challenge they have to manage, it's actually a massive competitive advantage just waiting to be tapped. This quote from Steve Jobs it perfectly captures what we're talking about. It's such a powerful reminder that the people who see the world differently, they're often the ones who end up changing it for the better. And that right there is the core idea behind bringing neurodiversity into the workplace. So, before we get into the whole business case for this, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly is neurodiversity? Now, look closely at this definition. The most important part, the real game changer, is that last phrase, viewed as normal and natural rather than pathological. See, this isn't just some clinical term. It's a huge shift in how we think. It reframes our neurological differences as just another part of the beautiful tapestry of human diversity, like biodiversity or cultural diversity. And to make it a little more real, the neurodiversity umbrella covers a whole range of conditions you've probably heard of, right? Things like autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, dyslexia. The key thing to remember here is that each of these can come with its own totally unique set of skills and ways of seeing the world. And this slide just perfectly lays out that evolution in thinking. I mean, in the past, it was all seen through a medical lens, as a pathology. The focus was always on what a person lacks. It's a dark view that even has a history of institutionalization. But the modern view? It's a social model, a lot like the journey the LGBTQ movement went on. It shifts the focus to identity, to natural human variation, and, this is so important, to what a person possesses. Okay, so now that we've got that fundamental shift in our heads, from pathology to identity, let's talk about how that translates into a real, tangible business case. Why is this not just a nice thing to do, but a genuine strategic move for any modern company? So the source material gives us 5 really solid arguments for why this is a business imperative. Let's walk through them. First, you've got skill set diversity. I'm talking about tapping into some seriously unique talents in logic, in pattern recognition, in creativity. Then, well, there are legal pressures. A lot of countries, especially in Europe and Asia, have quota laws now, and you just can't ignore them. The third reason? It's all about avoiding disaster. Homogeneous groupthink has caused some catastrophic business failures. Diversity of perspective is like an insurance policy against that. Fourth is just simple demographics. This isn't some tiny niche group. We're talking about a growing percentage of the entire global population and your customer base. And finally, and this one might be the biggest, is the constant, relentless need for innovation. The tech sector especially runs on out-of-the-box thinking, and this is a direct pipeline to it. So, theory is great and all, but what does this actually look like in the real world? We're going to take a look at 2 pioneering global tech firms that are really leading the charge on this. And this really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? It's a huge paradox. If neurodiverse people have all these valuable skills, why in the world do they face such high unemployment rates? Well, it turns out the problem is often right at the front door. I mean, just look at this data. One study found that while 75% of neurotypical candidates got a second interview, that number plummeted to only 30% for neurodiverse candidates. This isn't a skills gap, people. It's a process gap. Think about it. Behaviors like avoiding eye contact or being super direct, which can be common for someone on the autism spectrum, are often just misinterpreted by interviewers as a lack of confidence or bad social skills. So here's the bottom line. The standard interview process is a broken filter. It's not that the talent isn't there. It's that the door to get in is the wrong shape. The pioneering companies we're looking at, they realized they had to build, as one exec said, a different front door. And they focus their energy on 4 really critical areas. First, training managers to get over their fear and just communicate effectively. Second, getting that executive-level sponsorship to drive real, lasting change. Third, accommodating individual needs with simple tweaks. And finally, and maybe most importantly, completely blowing up and rethinking their recruitment process. And here is the real aha moment for me. What's so amazing about this slide is how simple and practical these solutions are. Seriously, we are not talking about billion-dollar overhauls here. Managerial fear? They created safe environment training sessions where managers could just ask any question they had. Simple. Recruitment bias? They just created special programs that completely bypassed the traditional interview. For retention, one company made these things called passports, a little document so an employee's accommodations just move with them from manager to manager. And to fight the stigma, They just encouraged senior leaders to be open about their own neurodiversity. See, these are shifts in culture and process, not massive financial investments. Okay, so what can we all learn from these pioneers? Their experiences give us a really clear blueprint for any organization out there that wants to start tapping into this incredible talent pool. So, we've talked about the why. This slide is the how. It's a 5-step blueprint based on what these pioneering companies figured out. Number 1, and this is an absolute must, get an executive-level sponsor. This change has to be championed from the very top. 2, you have to tear down and rebuild your hiring process. Stop relying so much on those old-school interviews and use things like internships and work trials that actually let people show you what they can do. 3, educate everyone. This is for managers and employees to actively challenge old, outdated assumptions. 4, create an environment where people can talk openly. Make it safe to discuss what you need and solve problems together. And finally, lesson 5, think bigger. Really consider the impact you're having on society and step into your role as a responsible leader. And that brings us to this final thought from Klaus Schwab. You see, building a neurodiverse workforce, it's not just the next trendy thing in diversity and inclusion. It's a really profound act of responsible leadership. It's one that helps the business, it strengthens society, and it ultimately forces us to redefine what we think of as valuable. So the real question isn't whether you can afford to do this, it's can you really afford not to?